Sly Stone was not just a music star, he was a bold and fearless artist who always spoke his mind. He created a new sound that mixed funk, soul, and rock in a powerful way. But behind his success, he had strong opinions about other bands. He did not like groups that he thought were fake, copied his style, or lacked real feeling. This list is not just about music, it is about pride, pain, and passion. If you think music legends always respect each other, think again. These are the bands Sly Stone truly hated, and the reasons will surprise you. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Sly Stone, whose real name is Sylvester Stewart, was born on March 15, 1943, in Denton, Texas. He grew up in a religious and musical family. His parents were very active in church, and music was a big part of their daily life. When Sly was still a young boy, the family moved to Vallejo, California. There, he started singing gospel songs in church with his siblings. Sly was a musical genius from a very young age. By the time he was 7, he had already learned how to play the piano, guitar, bass, and drums. His love for music only grew stronger as he got older. In high school, Sly joined several bands and became known for his unique style. He was not afraid to mix different kinds of music together. After school, he worked as a radio DJ in San Francisco. His voice, song choices, and style made him popular, and people loved listening to him. Later, he formed his famous group, Sly and the Family Stone. The band was special because it had both men and women, and black and white musicians. They made music that was full of energy, hope, and strong messages. But even with success, Sly faced many struggles. He felt pressure from the music industry to change his sound. He also had problems with trust, fame, and personal relationships. As time passed, he began using drugs heavily. This caused problems within the band and in his personal life. He started missing shows, and his health began to suffer. People who once praised him started turning away. Still, no one could deny that Sly Stone changed music forever. His early life was full of talent and hard work, but his struggles showed the heavy price that often comes with being a true musical genius. Now we reveal the 7 bands he dislikes the most. Number 1, the Monkees. Sly Stone strongly disliked the Monkees, and he made that clear in several private conversations. To him, the Monkees were the symbol of everything fake in the music industry. They were formed by TV producers, not born from real musical roots. Their songs were written by other people, and in the early days, they did not even play their own instruments. This went completely against Sly's beliefs. He believed that true music should come from real life, real feelings, and real talent, not from scripts or marketing plans. Sly worked hard for his sound, blending funk, soul, and rock in ways no one had heard before. He took pride in originality. When he looked at the Monkees, he saw a group that was created for television first and music second. To him, they represented a system that gave fame to performers without struggle, emotion, or deep creativity. Even though the Monkees were popular and had catchy songs, Sly felt they were copying the style of real musicians and selling it to a mainstream audience in a watered-down form. What made this worse for Sly was how successful the Monkees became. He felt that real artists, especially black artists like himself, had to fight for every bit of attention, while bands like the Monkees were handed stardom. He once joked that the Monkees were actors playing musicians, and for a man who lived and breathed music, that was the biggest insult of all. In short, Sly Stone did not just dislike their sound, he disliked what they stood for. To him, the Monkees were not a band, they were a product. And for someone who valued passion and struggle in art, that was something he could never respect. Number 2. Chicago. Sly Stone had a deep dislike for the band Chicago. While many fans loved their polished mix of rock and brass instruments, Sly saw them in a very different way. To him, Chicago's music lacked the raw feeling and soul that he believed were the heart of great music. He thought their songs sounded too clean, too perfect, like they were made in a lab, not from life. Chicago was known for their tight arrangements, sharp horn sections, and complex music theory, but Sly felt their sound was too controlled. He believed that real funk and soul came from imperfections, from emotion, from letting the music breathe. He once said that music should make you feel something in your chest, not just impress your brain. To Sly, Chicago was more about skill than spirit. Another reason for his dislike was how popular Chicago became with white audiences. Sly worked hard to bring people together through his music. His band was mixed, his message was unity, but he often saw how the music industry favored white-led bands. Even when black musicians did something first, bands like Chicago would later copy the style and get more radio play and bigger sales. This frustrated Sly deeply. He also believed that Chicago never gave enough credit to the black artists who inspired their sound. While they used funk-style horns and grooves, they rarely mentioned the pioneers who came before them. Sly felt ignored and disrespected. In the end, his problem with Chicago was not just musical. It was about the feeling that the industry rewarded safe, clean, and marketable music, while real, emotional, and revolutionary artists were pushed aside. For Sly Stone, Chicago represented that unfair system, and that is why he could not stand them. Number 3. Grand Funk Railroad. Sly Stone had strong negative feelings toward Grand Funk Railroad, and he did not hide his thoughts when talking with close friends. While the band gained massive popularity in the 1970s, especially among young white rock fans, Sly believed they were imitators rather than innovators. He felt they borrowed too much from funk and soul without truly understanding or respecting the roots of that music. To Sly, Grand Funk Railroad was all about loud guitars, simple grooves, and shouting vocals, but with no real message or depth. He thought their sound was flat and their energy forced, like they were trying to be funky without having soul. What bothered him most was that they took parts of black music, repackaged it for rock audiences, and became wildly successful without giving back to the culture they borrowed from. He also saw them as a symbol of how the music industry favored white acts doing black music over the black originators themselves. Sly once said that when a white band copies your sound and gets 10 times the radio play, it does not feel like success, it feels like theft. He believed Grand Funk Railroad was riding the funk wave without doing any of the hard work or understanding the struggle behind the sound. While the band did not attack Sly publicly, the tension was real. Sly refused to perform at events where they headlined, and he once turned down a chance to collaborate with a producer who worked closely with them. For Sly Stone, Grand Funk Railroad was not just another rock band. They were the face of a system that copied, cashed in, and never said thank you. That kind of attitude went against everything he stood for, and it is why he hated them so much. Number 4. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Sly Stone had a deep dislike for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, even though many critics praised their blend of jazz, rock, and classical styles. While the band was known for its musical skill and big horn sections, Sly thought their music lacked something very important: soul. He believed that music should come from emotion, pain, and lived experience. To him, Blood, Sweat, and Tears sounded like a group of trained musicians showing off, not artists trying to connect with people's hearts. Sly often criticized their style as being too calculated and cold. He felt that they were more focused on impressing listeners with technical skills than actually moving them. Their music to Sly sounded more like a school project than a real expression of feeling. He once joked that listening to them was like reading a textbook, smart but boring. Another reason Sly disliked them was how they were marketed. Blood, Sweat, and Tears were often treated as serious musicians, while funk and soul artists like Sly and the Family Stone were seen as wild or less sophisticated. This double standard made Sly angry. He believed that his music carried deep messages about race, peace, and unity, but it was often brushed aside as a party music. Meanwhile, bands like Blood, Sweat, and Tears got praised for writing songs with horns and long solos, even when the emotion behind the music was missing. Sly also felt that they were copying ideas from black music traditions without giving real credit. Their use of horns, rhythm, and gospel-inspired sounds was clear, but they rarely spoke about their influences. For Sly, this silence felt like disrespect. In the end, Sly saw Blood, Sweat, and Tears as empty brilliance, technically sharp, but spiritually hollow. That was enough for him to truly dislike them. Number 5. Three Dog Night. Sly Stone's dislike for Three Dog Night ran deep, even though the band helped make some of his music more famous. In 1969, they covered his song, Mama Told Me Not to Come, turning it into a hit. But instead of feeling honored, Sly felt robbed. He believed they took his raw, emotional message and turned it into a safe, radio-friendly version that lost its original meaning. To Sly, Three Dog Night represented a pattern he had seen many times. White bands taking music from black artists, softening it, and then selling it to the mainstream. While they had big voices and catchy songs, he felt they lacked originality. He believed they were copying sounds from funk and soul without adding anything new. It bothered him that people would hear a song by Three Dog Night and not even know it was written by a black artist like him. What made things worse was how well they were treated by the industry. Sly and the Family Stone, despite being hugely talented and groundbreaking, often faced racism, poor business deals, and limited airplay. Meanwhile, Three Dog Night, with smoother packaging and a safer image, got more support from radio stations and record labels. This double standard frustrated Sly and made him resent them even more. Sly also criticized the way they performed. He felt their stage energy was forced and lacked real heart. To him, their shows were polished but fake, made for applause, not for truth. In short, Sly Stone saw Three Dog Night not just as a band, but as a symbol of cultural theft and unfair success. While they never openly disrespected him, the way they benefited from his style without recognition was enough for him to truly hate them. Number 6. Kool and the Gang. Surprisingly, Sly Stone had strong negative feelings toward Kool and the Gang during their early years, even though they later became funk legends in their own right. While the bands shared similar styles with horns, grooves, and party vibes, Sly believed Kool and the Gang were trying too hard to copy what he had already done, without giving him any credit. In Sly's view, the early Kool and the Gang records lacked originality. He felt they were following the blueprint that Sly and the Family Stone created: multi-instrumental funk, energetic live shows, and a mix of dance and message, but without bringing anything new to the table. He once said their sound was like a mirror with no reflection, familiar but empty. Sly was also upset by how quickly Kool and the Gang gained popularity. They started showing up on big festival lineups, getting radio play, and earning praise for a style that Sly felt he invented. Instead of feeling proud that funk was growing, he felt overlooked and copied. It hurt even more that Kool and the Gang rarely mentioned Sly as an influence in public interviews during those early years. To him, that silence spoke volumes. Another reason for his dislike was personal pride. Sly saw himself as a pioneer, a rebel, and a leader of a movement. He believed real artists had to suffer, experiment, and break rules. Kool and the Gang, in his eyes, were too polished, too safe, and too focused on fitting into the charts. Though his opinion may have changed later as Kool and the Gang evolved their sound, during their early rise, Sly Stone viewed them as imitators riding his wave. And for a man who valued musical truth above all, that was something he could not forgive. Number 7. Earth, Wind, and Fire. It may surprise many fans, but Sly Stone held quiet resentment toward Earth, Wind, and Fire, even though they were one of the most respected and talented bands of the 1970s. While he never publicly insulted them, people close to Sly knew he felt a mix of jealousy, frustration, and betrayal whenever their name came up. The reason? He believed they borrowed his vision and got more credit for it. Sly was one of the first artists to mix deep funk, psychedelic rock, spiritual themes, and futuristic stage visual. He dressed in wild outfits, preached unity, and used music to send powerful messages. Then came Earth, Wind, and Fire with their glowing costumes, cosmic album covers, and positive energy. Audiences loved it, but to Sly, it felt like watching someone else succeed with a dream he started. He respected their talent. He never doubted that. Maurice White, the band's leader, was a brilliant producer and musician, but that only made it harder. Sly felt that Earth, Wind, and Fire had taken his cosmic funk vibe, polished it, and made it more mainstream and digestible. And while Sly was struggling with addiction, label pressure, and fading fame, Earth, Wind, and Fire were climbing the charts and winning awards. What hurt the most was how often critics and fans praised Earth, Wind, and Fire as visionaries without mentioning Sly's influence. It felt like history was being rewritten, and he was being erased from his own story. So, while Sly Stone never launched an open attack, deep inside, he resented them.